I think creativity is a great thing for an event coordinator to have, being able to think outside of the box. So I think creativity is something that I really like to challenge myself on. What can I help make happen that has never been done before? Events are so broad and there's so many different places to do them. And the more people that we've brought onto our team, it's been awesome to hear experiences from all different industries. So own your experience and be willing to learn the new systems and excited to see how the things are done.
Joining me today is KateAnne Dussling, and she is an event coordinator at Inspire Leadership Network. So, KateAnne, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. So excited to be here.
Of course. So, let's go ahead and get started. KateAnne, in the most simple way, can you please explain to me what an event coordinator does?
That is such a great question. An event coordinator is really just that, coordinating all of the pieces that it takes to do an event. So things like food and beverage, things like parking information, getting together your speakers, all of those kind of things. Anything that it takes to produce an event, whether it's a small gathering in your backyard or an 1,000-person event, that is what an event coordinator does.
Okay, amazing. And what made you want to get into this career path, and how did you get your start in it?
So I actually have a really unique situation with my career. I started as a nurse and started
Oh,
in the midst of COVID. And through all of that was, just learning a lot of skills that honestly translate to so many different fields. So when I entered into the event coordination space, I was just looking for something new, something in the corporate world,
mhm.
and realized that I had so many skills that were just natural to me. I loved bringing people together. I always say that people is my passion, and that's such an important part of being an event coordinator. Um, really just thinking about how to critically problem solve, how to bring people together in a way that is easy for them. You're always thinking about customer experience is really important, and just details and being quick on your feet because you do all the pre-planning, but then you also, similar to a nurse, have to be ready to make a decision very quickly when something goes
Yeah.
awry in the moment.
Yeah. And so now, what parts of your job are the most exciting or the most interesting to you?
I love being in person on the ground. I personally coordinate conferences and have absolutely loved that experience. I got to be a part of the first conference for the company that I work for. And so, really
Wow.
building that from the ground up. For me, I love to be in the midst of it on the ground, um, quickly problem solving. So when a speaker doesn't show up on time or when the food and beverage maybe
Right.
isn't ready, thinking about how can we continue to keep people engaged? How can we
Yeah.
have people enjoy the moment and really creating that special experience for each person in the room?
Okay. And now on the flip side, what parts of the job are harder, just challenging, or just not so fun?
Absolutely. It's very important, but it's not always fun. Budget is a huge part of event
Mm,
coordinating. So when it comes down to numbers and making sure that you're
yeah.
in line with what you've been given financially, that's not a super fun part, but it's very important to be
Yeah.
pay attention to that, right? Like you want to make sure that you create a special experience, but you don't go over budget. So for me, that's
Right.
my least favorite. And then, of course, things like calling vendors and finalizing those kind of last minute details. Some
Yeah.
people love that. Personally, not my favorite part.
Okay. And now, what do you think that people might underestimate or overestimate about being an event coordinator?
I think something that is very important to note if you want to go into this field is the time commitment. Most events
Yeah.
happen in the evening or on the weekends. Um, and it definitely takes a lot of detail organization. So if you're not organized, that this might not be the best career for you.
Yeah.
So definitely thinking about time commitment. Are you willing to commit to the time that events occur? And then um, yeah, making sure you have a system is crucial to being a good event coordinator.
Okay. And now we talked about you being a conference event coordinator. So, are there any other specialties or niches that you can go into within being an event coordinator?
Yeah, absolutely. Event coordination is so broad, especially in today's world, having virtual events. As an event coordinator, I do in person events, but a very large part of my job is producing virtual events.
Okay.
Um, Once again, it's in the name, but coordination as an event coordinator is truly with the virtual events. I work with my marketing team and make sure that our videos are ready to go. It's my role to make sure that invitations get sent out virtually and that links
Mm,
are updated. And then personally, I actually produce these events. So I'm behind the computer, clicking go for the videos. I
okay.
am the help desk if people have questions about why is my microphone not working or why is my camera not working on maybe a breakout room or something like that. Um, Event coordinators virtually is a whole different world outside of the in person, which is just something unique. And it's something to think about. Event coordination can even be a remote job. So,
Okay. And so now, what are some of the big employers for this type of work? What companies look for event coordinators?
that's such a good question. Really, from the smallest company to the largest company. I personally work for a corporate company that is on the smaller side, about 150
Okay.
employees. Um, About 20 of those are event coordinators because we're an events company. So you have that realm of it where you work for a company that their sole job is to contract with larger corporations and produce their events.
Okay.
Um, you also have wedding event coordinators are a great example of event coordinators, which definitely are smaller. But that could even be a great contracting job where you just work for them on the side on the weekends.
Yeah.
And then I have a great friend who's an event coordinator that works for large corporations like NCR or Chick-fil-A, Delta. I know all kinds of people. So
Okay.
well-known large corporations or your small down the road wedding venue, whether it's 100 people at a wedding or like 1,000 people at a large corporate event. You can work in all kinds of areas. And those are the companies that are looking for event coordinators.
Okay. So now, according to my research, the average salary for an event coordinator is about $60,000. So, from your experience, what do you think about that number? Is that true? Is that false? Does it depend? What can you say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it definitely depends on the size of the company that you work
Right.
for. So, as a corporate event coordinator, I would say that starting at $60,000 is pretty much spot on.
Okay.
If you work for a larger corporation, you might get paid a little bit more. If you
Yeah.
work as a wedding event coordinator, you're probably going to get paid a little less. So, really dependent on the industry that you go in and the size of the company that you're working for.
Okay. And now, how do you see the industry evolving in, say, 5 to 10 years?
Such a good question. I personally think that we are going to move away from virtual events. I don't think that they're going to completely dissolve, but people want to be back in person.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me a couple years ago, I would have said something very different. But with COVID dying down, virtual events, I think, will decrease more and more. I think
Okay.
as far as in-person events, I think we're going to continue to see them grow. People, like I said, they want to be in person. I love
Yeah.
watching on social media the way that events are evolving for brands and with influencers and brand deals. That's a whole nother
Yeah.
side of event coordination. But I think we're going to continue to see them grow. And I think it's really special in the events world right now where people are learning more and more how to give you truly unique experience that um, merges with your brand and your marketing and what you want to say about your company because we have so many opportunities to really work with awesome vendors that are trying to
Yeah.
do different things. So,
Yeah. Okay. So now, how do you stay updated with the latest developments of your field?
absolutely. There are so many good resources that are continued to be developed for event coordinators. There's a lot of podcasts that are coming out now.
Okay.
Actually, I have a coworker who has a great podcast for that. Um, and I mean, Cvent is a great
Okay.
website that I refer to a lot for what are the new venues that are available and what is out there that's new for event coordinators when it comes to software and how we organize
Okay.
things. So definitely, honestly, if you look up any kind of how to keep up on the latest trends, it's out there and it's growing and developing with resources that are out there for event coordinators. There's also really great societies and like clubs and local
Okay.
networking. So I would definitely recommend look up in your city like event coordination networking, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
people getting connected in that space too. You can meet great vendors that way. You can meet great
Yeah.
new potential employers. So lots out there for event coordinators.
Okay, amazing. And now going into your daily work, what's your schedule like and what tasks do you spend the majority of your day doing?
Ah, such a good question. Every day is different in my role specifically. Um, I would say typically, a day for me looks like logging onto my email and checking specifically, let's talk conference world right now, because that's what I'm in the
Okay.
depths of. I'm looking at, does anyone need me to update their hotel reservation? Checking my email for that. And then I spend a lot of days in meetings with my team, just planning the logistics of this 3 day conference. So that looks like walking through how many people from our team do we need on site?
Right.
What printed resources do we need to ask for from our marketing team? Personally, for me, we have a whole separate team that does programming. So, like, what our run of shows look like and how we can work with our programming team to make sure that they
Okay.
are on track. Think of truly anything that is coordinating 1,000 different people. Whoever needs my priority that day, that's what I'm doing. And then a lot of
Okay.
times I'll end out my day sitting on a Zoom call running that virtual event that I'm talking about. So it's a lot of emails, a
Yeah.
lot of phone calls. There's also contract negotiation in that as well. So when we do in person events, we always work with a hotel or a venue, and we're making sure that they can offer everything that we need. And then I get the price down. That's honestly one of my main goals is how can
Yeah.
we work together in a way that's financially safe for us and still benefits the company that we're working with.
Yeah, of course. Okay, and now we kind of touched on this a little bit, but would you say that this is a 9 to 5 sort of job? Are you able to work flexible hours? Can you be remote? Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah. So, as far as what your hours would be as an event coordinator, like I mentioned, really depends on your industry. So, if you're a
Okay.
wedding event coordinator, you're probably going to spend some time during the week talking to your bride and getting things together. But the majority of your time is going to be on a Saturday, making sure that everything is ready for that bride's big day.
Yeah.
For me, I work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, including work events. Sometimes we'll have evening events, but that's typically pretty one off. I would
Okay.
say for the majority of corporate event coordinators, you're going to see a lot of planning in the 9 to 5, and then definitely expect to be working from 6 to 10 in the evening, or maybe even a whole Saturday. So
Okay.
definitely uh, lots of opportunities, and you can find what really works for your schedule the best, because there also is, like I mentioned, that virtual remote component if you work for a company that fully supports virtual events.
Yeah. And now just out of curiosity, do you focus on one event at a time or do you have multiple that you're working on at the same time?
Absolutely. Um, I'm going to refer back to my experience as a nurse. One of the best things that I learned in that field was how to juggle 1,000 things. And when it comes to event coordinators, I don't know an event coordinator that coordinates one event at a time.
Okay.
So it is keeping so many balls up in the air, making sure that the event in August is ready and that your venue is booked for the event in December. And you have a virtual event on the same day. So are you going to do it or is somebody else going
Yeah.
to cover it? So I would say personally, I'm typically working on probably 10 events at the same time.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yep.
now with that, do you see that there are any busy seasons in this job? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I would say that summer is probably the least busy time in a
Okay.
corporate role. Um, for me personally, except that I'm doing a lot of pre-planning. So for me personally, our largest conference is in August, and that
Okay.
is really the months leading up to that. So June and July are chaos. But when it comes to
Okay.
other in-person events, a little slower. And then Christmas time. is very busy for our company. We have a lot of holiday events and things like that. So dependent on what industry you work for, you might be busier depending on, weddings are in the
Yeah,
fall.
of course.
And yep. So for me personally, I would say summer is probably planning wise my busiest time.
Okay. And now, would you say that there are certain degrees or certifications that are required to become an event coordinator?
Honestly, not at all. There are great programs out there, and you can get a bachelor's degree in hospitality now, and there are definitely certificates and degrees that you can get. Like I said, I am a registered nurse.
Yeah.
Quite a few girls that work on my team are teachers, or
Oh,
have been teachers in their past life.
okay.
So you can really do almost anything. And if you are having a good learning attitude and you're organized, you can be an event coordinator. So
Okay.
no specific certificates, or degrees required.
Okay. And if you're applying to be in the corporate event coordination space, what do they look for in, say, your resume, or what do they look for in past experiences?
Absolutely. Definitely organization, like I mentioned. So making sure that you can keep track of everything and keep track of your details. A people person is really important. You're not going to be completely behind the scenes, whether it's working face to face with a vendor. So definitely someone who can be a people pleaser.
Yeah.
I would say any experience, shadowing events is never a bad thing to have, even if it's working alongside someone in a totally different industry for a couple of days. Um, and then I would really just say a person who's quick on their feet. So
Okay.
just being able to make critical thinking, and problem solving a part of their everyday
Yeah.
is something really important to develop as an event coordinator. And those are all, I mean, any professional experience as an event coordinator is great, but for someone who's coming in as a beginner, I'd say organization, clear communication, and being a people person, and then that critical thinking and problem solving.
Okay. And now, as an event coordinator, what do you end up thinking about all day? What topics does someone have to be genuinely interested in to enjoy a career like this?
Absolutely. I think creativity is a great thing for an event coordinator to have. Being able to think outside of the box, being able to, for me personally, I take someone else's idea and make it come to life with a lot of colors and, shapes and sizes. So I think creativity is something that I really like to challenge myself on. What can I help make happen that has never been done before?
Right.
Personally, I work with a team that I, help equip alongside my internal events team. So we bring on other
Okay.
staff members who are not in our events world. So I'm always thinking about how do I over communicate? And if somebody walked in to this room and had no context, what could I tell them in a concise way or hand them a paper that tells them what they need in a way that they feel equipped?
Yeah.
So definitely, I think a lot about how to equip my team to make things happen. I would
Okay.
also just say, really making sure that I stay on top of my stuff. I don't want to drop the ball on anything with
Right.
coordinating 10 events at a time. So really thinking about how do I stay on top of what I need to do, and, making sure that I'm communicating my needs well to the rest of my team, marketing and programming and, all of the other pieces there.
Okay. And now, what are some tools, technologies, or softwares that you tend to fall back on a lot as an event coordinator?
I love this question because I have deemed myself as our Asana champion in my company. So Asana is a project management software.
Okay.
I honestly think it started as a technology, project management system, but we
Okay.
have, really adapted it for our team to be able to create deadlines. We have a lot of templates, so events that we do over and over again, we're just able to clone that template and know what needs to be done. For us, Asana has been a work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Populating due dates is just awesome. We use Salesforce, connector of Blackthorn. So that is something interesting. That's how we send all of our automated emails. I also know people
Okay.
use Marketing Cloud. Marketing uses that as well. So Salesforce connector there. It helps pull data from the larger Salesforce cloud and make
Okay.
it in the event format, which is
Mhm.
just interesting. That's how we keep track of our data for attendance. Yeah, I think those are our main two big ones that we use the most. And then, I mean, I use a lot of Dropbox paper, a lot of Google Sheets, and Dropbox paper is definitely one of my favorites to keep track of documents that we can share with our team as a whole.
Okay. And now, what do you recommend that candidates that are interested in this job do to set themselves apart from other candidates?
I love that. I think find what your passion is and really own that. If your passion is people, own that. If your passion is helping make your efficiency in your company better, own that. Like event coordinators need that. So for me, in all of my interviews, I told my team like people are my passion, and that really resonated with
Yeah.
them because that's what we really do. We build relationships with my company through our events. Um, so I think finding what's the most important part of event coordination for you, and then really kind of develop a personality around that for those interviews. I
Yeah.
think that really makes you set apart. And I think in any interview, but especially when it comes to event coordinating, being very willing to learn and to listen.
Yeah.
Um, and then also not afraid to share your experience. Events are so broad and there's so many different places to do them. And um, the more people that we've brought onto our team, it's been awesome to hear experiences from all different industries. So own your experience and be willing to learn the new systems and excited to see how the things are done, but never be afraid to
Yeah.
share that you're happy to bring in what you have done and help make things even better.
Right. And so now this next question is I think it's like perfect to ask you, but if someone wants to make a pivot from another career into this one, what's the fastest way that they can get their foot in the door?
I love that question. So, like I mentioned, I was a nurse and transitioned into event coordinator. I think it really comes down to thinking critically about what skills you hold that are not just industry specific. So, for me, as a nurse, I was constantly critical thinking, I was constantly problem solving.
Right.
Well, you don't just do that in the bedside. You can also do that, like I mentioned earlier, in an event where food and beverage is going crazy, and your band didn't show up on time. So
Yeah.
for I feel like for me, and I've coached a lot of my friends through this as well, really think about what skills that you hold that you can translate into those, I would say, core things of being an event coordinator when it comes to creativity, organization, productivity, efficiency,
Right.
customer experience. I would say anyone who has customer experience can definitely be an event coordinator. You just have to learn how to shape that into
Right.
a way that um, sounds like you'd be a good event coordinator. So,
Yeah. And now, what are some resources or programs that you recommend our listeners look into?
such a great question. If I'm honest, I'm not the best at learning, continuing to learn, but I would definitely say looking into event coordinator podcasts and looking into, like I said, any of those online platforms that are consistently updating
Yeah.
people on what's new and what's
Yeah.
happening. I also think it's always good to understand the business as a whole, learning what your business really cares about and what the point of the event is. And so being really good to learn and listen and ask good questions, not just about your event, but really what's the goal of your event? Not
Right.
just the logistics, but like what's the big picture and how
Yeah.
can we be a part of that? We always say like my tagline is like I'm always happy to help. I want to make your dream come to life. So
Yeah.
definitely, I think learning your company as a whole is really crucial to being a good corporate event coordinator.
Okay. And now finally, if you could talk to your younger self when you were just starting out in the event coordinating space, what advice would you give her?
I would definitely say just take it one day at a time. Event coordination is a skill to be learned. I think a lot of people have those skills, but just be patient with yourself because the learning never stops in this industry. Ask a lot of good questions. I didn't know what questions to ask, but the more questions I asked, the more it led to better questions to ask. And honestly, just be confident. People really care about the events that they show up to when you invest time
Yeah.
in something. And so be confident in what you're doing because at the end of the day, like there's no way that someone can go to an event and not be impacted in some way or meet someone new. And so what you're doing really makes a difference. Personally, I believe that a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, amazing. And now, where can people reach out to you or where can they follow along with your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I document some of my work on my Instagram, which is at
Okay.
KateAnne Dussling. Um, and then LinkedIn is a great place. That's where I share a ton of my personal updates with job and the cool events that we're putting on and special moments. And I share a lot about my team because I love them if you can't tell. So, yep, KateAnne Dussling on LinkedIn and at KateAnne Dussling on Instagram.
Okay, all right. Well, KateAnne, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. And thank you for sharing just your experience and your insight on being an event coordinator. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I loved being here.
You just got one episode closer to learning about the world of jobs out there. To explore the rest of our career categories and find your best fit, go to jobdictionary.com to sign up for the beta users waitlist. Then subscribe here to find the next episodes coming out this week. And as always, drop us a comment, review, or message to let us know how we can better attune our episodes to your specific needs. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Pinterest, and wherever else you're on socials to go get our short, snappy preview reels that expose you to new job options every day. Because here at Job Dictionary, we believe your big aha moment can be just one scroll away. Go check it out and get out there. Cheers!